The Iraq delegation visited Baghdad and Erbil in northern Iraq, the autonomous region of Kurdistan, last week. I've just returned from 5 days in Iraq. This was an historic visit because it was the first time the fully fledged Delegation for Relations with Iraq in the European Parliament had been able to travel to Iraq. Twice before in the last 2 years we were refused permission to go by the President of the European Parliament on security grounds. This time we were finally allowed to go with a delegation consisting of 4 MEPs representing really the big main groups in the European Parliament. We had Mario Mauro, the Special Rapporteur on Iraq from the Foreign Affairs Committee, who is an Italian member of the EPP, the big centre-right majority group in the European Parliament, John Attard Montalto, a Maltese MEP from the Socialist group, and Jelko Kacin, a former defence minister from Slovenia, who's in the Liberal Democrat group. I, as President of the Delegation for Relations with Iraq, led the delegation throughout the visit, and it was an extremely high-level visit. We met President Jalal Talabani, the President of Iraq. We met Mr. Zabari, the Foreign Minister. We met the Speaker of the Iraqi Parliament, Mr. Najefi, who chairs the Council of Representatives, which is the key decision-making body in the Parliament. The only person, in fact, we didn't meet was Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, who in fact was in South Korea at the time. The main findings of our visit, well, first of all, the security situation in Baghdad and in other major cities in Iraq is still pretty tenuous. We had to wear full body armour when we were taken in armoured vehicles from the airport into the green zone in Baghdad. We had an Iraqi driver and a former paratrooper as our guard. Both of them had submachine guns and pistols, and of course they were wearing body armour. And we were repeatedly stopped at checkpoints. Baghdad is still a war zone. There are army checkpoints virtually every half mile. You cannot see anything but the rooftops of the houses because of huge concrete barriers with razor wire on top of them to try and give some level of protection to each of the households. And there are tanks and armoured vehicles and machine gun nests at every street corner. Al-Qaeda have recently changed their tactics. Now they seem to have got a supply of silenced pistols, and the terrorists draw up at security checkpoints and they wait till the police or army personnel come over and knock on the window of their car, expecting them to show their ID, and then they shoot the policeman or the army guy dead in the face. 81 police and army people had been killed in this way in the 16 days before we arrived in Baghdad. So you never hear about this in the Western media. This is a massive amount of assassinations perpetrated by Al-Qaeda. When we were there, we were going to the Polish embassy to meet with the other EU ambassadors, and there was a security alert with sirens sounding an alarm. Our guard was on his radio and told us that there was an incoming rocket. Apparently Al-Qaeda fire rockets and mortars virtually every day from the Sadr city suburb, the very poor Shiite suburb of Baghdad, and these missiles are fired usually towards the American embassy in the green zone. A couple of minutes later the all clear sounded, and we got the message that in fact this particular rocket had landed in the river Tigris. So we were lucky on that occasion, but this is a daily occurrence. So even the final and thank God the killing of Osama bin Laden, I don't think is going to make any difference to the ongoing terror campaign mounted by Al-Qaeda. The political situation is far from stable. the deal which put together the government of national unity in Iraq after the elections, which was supposed to bring together the Sunnis, the Shias, the Kurds, and various other minorities. In fact, the pledges as part of that deal, which was called the Erbil Agreement, have not been fulfilled. There were 9 pledges, none of them have been fulfilled by Nouri al-Maliki, the Prime Minister. The 3 key ministries, defence, security, internal affairs, have never been filled. Appointments have not been made. This gives us some cause for concern. It kind of destabilizes the current political situation in a fledgling democracy. And this, with the Arab uprisings taking place throughout the Middle East, it would not be a healthy situation to see similar uprisings taking place throughout Iraq. And there have been some protests recently, mostly based on the people protesting about the lack of jobs, the stagnant economy, and also the corruption, which is widespread. It's apparently the 2nd most corrupt country in the world after only Sudan. The other issue that dominated our debate was, of course, the massacre in Camp Ashraf, which took place on the 8th of April, when 5 divisions of the Iraqi army, more than 2,500 troops and 50 armoured vehicles invaded Camp Ashraf, the home to 3,400 unarmed civilian dissidents from Iran, people who oppose the oppressive Iranian regime, and attacked them, leading to 35 of these innocent people being killed and many hundreds being injured, some of them critically injured. And those people who are critically injured have not been allowed access to proper medical facilities, even up until now. Now, we heavily criticised the fact that this had happened. We said that we had previously sent 2 strong resolutions from the European Parliament to the government in Baghdad, pleading with them to show leniency and not to use violence in their dealings with the residents of Camp Ashraf. So we regard this massacre as contemptuous of our Parliament, contemptuous of our point of view, and we're calling for a full, independent public inquiry into what happened, because the perpetrators, the people who ordered this attack, have to be brought to justice. Having said that, in repeated meetings and negotiations with people at the highest level in the Iraqi government, I entirely accepted, my delegation accepted, that we cannot have a situation where sovereign Iraqi territory is claimed by anyone, whether they be from Iran or from anywhere else. So we have to find a resolution to Ashraf, and that resolution hopefully will mean, because of the very dangerous situation these people are in, that we can, in Europe, help to repatriate them, bring the 3,400 people back to Europe. Many of them came from Europe in the first place. 300 of them were refugees from France, 300 from Germany, 90 from Italy. We have to help to get these people back to Europe, where they can have safe haven, or to America or Canada if we can appeal to them for help. But we have to resolve this situation one way or the other. The Iraqi government wants Camp Ashraf to be closed down by the end of this year. But we will not negotiate, we will not seek to resolve this situation with the Iraqis facing into the barrel of a gun. First of all, the Iraqi government must withdraw their troops from Ashraf. They must order a full inquiry into the massacre on 8th April. They must end the siege of Camp Ashraf, allow free access to medical supplies, to food, to water, electricity, and all the other things that they have blocked. And they must give immediate medical assistance to the critically injured, taking them to proper hospitals where they can receive proper treatment for their wounds. Without these conditions being met by the Iraqis, there is no way we can even start the negotiations, because we will not be negotiating with a government on a basis of goodwill. So these are our conditions, these are our preconditions. If they are met, we then enter negotiations and we try to find a resolution to this crisis.